Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. We got a short show. We're going to be here all night long. And then we got Bruins in the home opener tonight against Chicago. You can hear it right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. So I'll have you pregame. Skaz is here. We got Street Team Joe tonight as well. And then we'll take you postgame until 11 o'clock. So if you're going in tonight, this is the spot for you here at 617-779-0985. We'll take your calls. You can join us on YouTube as well. We worked the game last night. We were here for opening night versus Washington. I will tell you the truth. I had zero to little or any expectations last night. I didn't know what we were going to get out of that Bruins team. And come to think about it, it was boring early on. The second period, I thought they got completely outplayed. But David Pastrnak arrived, and Jeremy Swayman closed the door, and it was the Bruins' two best players who got the opening night win. How do they follow it up tonight? We'll lead it off there with our opening take, which is, of course, presented by Super Service Today, Massachusetts' #1 provider for plumbing, cooling, day or night, always done right. Visit superservicetoday.com. Well, the Bees now start the year 1-0. They're on an 82-0 run, Kevin Majore. I see you back there. They got great goaltending. How about that special teams killing off penalties, even though they had a little bit too many? They even scored on the power play. And their offense, led by their top line, was just enough. It wasn't perfect. A lot of penalties, as I mentioned. That second period, they got outshot 17-6 last night. So I could tell you some of the negatives that were in there. But if the Bees keep it in a one-score game or keep it close, the team's scrappy. They definitely looked improved. And we'll get into Swayman and Pastrnak, who clearly led the way last night. But, you know, when I looked at Marco Sturm's team, they're heavy, right? One of the heaviest teams in the NFL. I do think at times guys were mucking it up last night. Tom Wilson was certainly getting in there. He was in on Lowry at times. And it really was Pastrnak that really set the tone last night. And everyone seems to at least bring up the fact that the team doesn't have a captain. I don't think they need one. Maybe they did want Pastrnak to really just come out and be the guy, and maybe he'll do that with his play. Maybe he's just not one of these guys who needs to be the captain. But they didn't name one. I know people in this town, they've had one for years, and they think it's a big deal. But for the Bees, they need David Pastrnak to score goals, lead on the ice, be a little bit more physical and better defensively. He did take a penalty. And they need Jeremy Swayman to play like a top 10 goaltender. And he did. So Swayman had 35 saves on the night. Pastrnak had a great night. His line dominated. He had 3 points on the night. And is David Pastrnak now Mr. Opening Night? His numbers on opening nights, and I just told you what he did last night. He was a part of the Lindholm goal. He was a part of the Geeky goal as well. But he was excellent. He opened things up in the second. He was outworking guys against the boards. He found Zadorov, who kind of gave it back to him in just a little wrister. He was really working him in that corner over there. It was a great shot. It was a snipe. Then he set up Lindholm, which eventually was the game winner, but it was a really nice look and a nice feed from him from there. And then when Geeky scored the empty netter to seal it, who was it who led the way to help Geeky get that goal? It was David Pastrnak. So a 3-point night to start the season. He was awesome last year. He was on a nice little run at the end of the year. So 2-point nights for Lindholm, Geeky, and, of course, David Pastrnak, who is now in sole possession of the third most opening night points in Bruins history. He has 15. Only Johnny Busick and Ray Bourque have more. And, you know, today's the home opener. I think people are a little bit excited from last night. You get yourself an Original Six matchup tonight. Connor Bedard's in town. David Pastrnak now could be on his way for maybe another Hart, at least a finalist for the Hart Trophy. I think he finished second a couple of years ago. But when I look at David Pastrnak and his three-point night, that's leadership. I don't care who the captain is. And I'm almost wondering if he can ascend. When you think about individual athletes in this town, individuals, one of the hardest sports to be the best individual is hockey. Now, Jeremy Swayman, when you think about him, he had that platoon with Allmark. It was great. It was why they won. It was their identity. The Bruins don't have that. They just don't. But they do have David Pastrnak, and his identity is he's a goal scorer. But now he's setting people up. Now he's working in the boards. Yeah, he'll take a bad penalty every once in a while, but it was more physical. I think he really was a leader out there. Can he do it every night? Can that line do it every single night? Because they didn't get much out of lines 2 and 3. Their fourth line was running around. Who's Tadinov? That guy's hair's on fire. So they got some speed there on the end. Now, Pasternak's Mr. Opening Night. Let's see what he does tonight. But Jeremy Swayman, outstanding. I thought it was the defense in front of him that was just a little bit better. They tightened up for sure, but Peak blocked 5 shots. Zadorov was in there with 3. Lowry was mucking it up as well. And you saw the return of Charlie McAvoy. He had a game-high 7 hits. He was physical all night long. It was the first time we've seen McAvoy since last February at the Four Nations. Right? We saw a little bit of Victor Arvidsson last night, who gave a little something to the second line, but overall, the third and fourth lines, I think, looked fine. I'm not worried about that. But they need more. It can't be Lindholm and Pastrnak and Geeky every night. It's just not. It's not sustainable. It absolutely isn't. But I did want to get into the special teams quickly. And by the way, my opening take is I think the Bruins can make the playoffs. It's plus 400. I think it's worth the shot. Are they scrappy? Yes. Do they have talent? Yes. If their defense can play like what I saw last night in front of Swayman, they're a playoff team. I don't know if they'll make a move. Maybe somebody ascends, a Minton or somebody like that. But I think it's worth betting the Bruins to make the playoffs. If you're wrong, you're wrong, but it's plus 400 odds. Those are great odds. It's high value. $100, $400 in, $1,000, $4,000 in. I think it's worth the shot. And when you look at this league, they have enough there to make it. They do. It's not pretty. It won't be pretty every single night, but they got one of the best scorers in all of hockey. Can they get a top 10 play from their goaltender? Can their defense do this every night and block shots? And can their special teams, their penalty kill, which went 5 for 5 last night? Not great, right? 5 penalties? Not great. Might have to cut that out a little bit. But besides that, it looked better. They finished in the bottom 10 of the NHL last year in that category. And their power play, how many times have we talked about it? It was the 4th worst power play in the NHL a year ago. It looked pretty good last night. They went 1 for 2. So I know they brought in this Steve Spott guy. It looked better, is all I'm saying. Let's see what it looks like tonight. But overall, I thought it looked pretty good. And Zacha had a really nice pass to Pastrnak. And who passed that one to Lindholm. It was a really nice play. Something I just haven't seen from that team in a long time. But when you look at the Bees, if you can get great goaltending like they did last night, the good defense in front of them, that good special teams, and just enough offense from guys like David Pastrnak, I think the plus 400 to make the playoffs is certainly on the table, and we'll see how they do tonight. They get right back at it. I know Chicago's been here. They played opening night. It was a good fight. Did you see that? On opening night, former Bruin, Nick Foligno, was it? I'm trying to think of who that was. But a bunch of old Bees will be in the Garden tonight, and we'll certainly have it here for you on 98.5 The Sports. By the way, Tom Wilson, still, I don't like that guy. Don't like it. When they made a trade years ago for those players in the Capitals, I hated it. These guys, I never liked those guys. But Wilson went at Lowry a couple of times. I think he took a couple of them last night. It was good to see him in there. But Pastrnak now has points in each of his past 5 season opening games. It's dating back to 2021. He ties Bobby Orr. That's pretty good, huh, Skaz? Bobby Orr? I heard he's good. It's the fourth longest streak in franchise history. So I just wanted to give the Bees their props. I think it's worth taking a look at the Bruins to make the playoffs this year. Maybe it is the new look Jeremy Swayman, but certainly it was a new look Boston Bruins. And I think what we saw last night looked good enough for me to make the playoffs. We'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. I did want to get into the Patriots as they're on the road this week. I still think it's a trap game. I wanted to talk about, though, the running backs and how they've done defensively against running backs. We'll get into that. Also, there's some news on Jason Tatum. He informed the Celtics today he wants to play this season. And I do want to pay homage to a former Red Sox great who passed away today. We'll do that as we're here until 6:30. We got Boston Bruins hockey tonight beginning at 6:30 with the puck drop at 7 p.m. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
know what it is, but there's a lot of people that are going, maybe it's just hockey. Right? Maybe it's just hockey. So I do remember a couple of years ago, the Bruins opened the night up against Chicago. They won 3-1 that night, and who had a huge night? It was David Pastrnak who scored the go-ahead goal on an empty netter. That sealed the victory. Remember he scored 61 goals the year before that? So, when you look at it, Pastrnak should be Mr. Opening Night. This was going into last season. He had 13.7 goals and 6 assists over in his career in the first game of the season. Add 2 more assists and a goal. He's been outstanding. He's been very good. And, when you look at it, though, he wasn't named captain. I don't care. But I do think he needs to be the best individual player on that team. As long as he plays well and they stay close, I think they are a playoff team. So you can certainly react to that if you're on your way in. I did want to touch on some Patriot stuff quickly. Since we don't have full shows the rest of the way, we will be here tomorrow night as well. We had the Celtics playing a preseason game last night, but we'll be here tomorrow till 11. I'll give you my weekend bets and my thoughts on the game this week. But I still think it's a trap game. I think tomorrow's a trap game. Sunday's game against New Orleans, and it's always that Mike Vrabel versus the Titans on deck. So the Patriots will look to snap a 2-game losing streak to the Saints. They lost in 2021, 28-13, and then remember that Mac Jones game where he threw the pick 6 on the sideline. He lost 34-0 in that one. That was back in 2023. But the Patriots defense this year, I mentioned this earlier in the week, but their numbers as far as holding opposing running backs under 100 yards has been outstanding. The Patriots are the only team in 2025 that has not surrendered a 50 yards to a running back through the first 5 games. It's the first time in team history that has ever happened. Now, Baltimore did not allow a 50-yard rusher for the first 7 weeks of the season, and Kansas City started the 2024 season with a 5-game streak. What do all those teams have in common? They all went to the playoffs. So the 2025 Patriots team is the 5th in the NFL against the run. They're allowing 85.6 rushing yards per game. The franchise record for the Patriots, 88.6 rushing yards per game. That was back in 2016. The Patriots defense overall is allowing about 3.51 yards per rush. That's through the first 5 games of the year. It's the 4th lowest mark in the NFL in 2025. The team record for a season is 3.3, recorded back when? In 2023. So why do I think that this is important? Well, I think Alvin Kamara and Keandre Miller, those are the 2 names. I think Taysom Hill will be another one that you should consider. And when you're talking quarterback, who's the 4th runner? Spencer Rattler. I'd look into that one as well. So I was looking at highest graded defensive tackles in the NFL. This was courtesy of PFSN College. They looked at all the defensive tackles in the league. And they graded Jeffrey Simmons number 1 from the Titans, DeForest Buckner from the Colts 2, Chris Jones 3, even though he loafed the other night, and Jalen Carter. We all know what these guys can do. Christian Barmore, 6th on the list at 83.3% as far as impact metric rating. Coming in at 8th on this list is Milton Williams of the Patriots at 81.8. What a huge addition both of these guys are. Milton Williams, they paid for it. He's the highest paid Patriot in team history. But Christian Barmore is a guy who missed an entire season. And now you match the both of them in the middle? They've been a big reason why this Patriots defense, although gives up a ton through the air and has, but besides last week, they've been very good at stopping the run. And we'll see if they can do that again this week. Keandre Miller's run well. Kid's 23 years old. He's fast. He's a good compliment to Alvin Kamara. I think that's somewhere. Spencer Rattler can't throw the ball deep. He doesn't make explosive plays through the air. I think they're going to stick to the ground game. And really, I think this game's going to come down to turnovers. I know it's easy to say, but if Drake May and the offense don't turn the ball over, they win the game. But that defense of the Saints, they create turnovers. That's my concern this weekend. But I did want to highlight the Patriots in their run defense. It's been really good this year. It's actually been, as far as the first 5 weeks of the seasons, one of their tops in their history. One other thing that's out there regarding the Patriots is Christian Gonzalez. He was limited at practice today. I think we got ourselves a little bit of a source war. I think I saw Ben Volen mention that he might have re-injured his hamstring. I'm just trying to pull all that together. Yeah, Ben Volen today, Boston Globe. Looks like Christian Gonzalez tweaked his hamstring again when the injury report came out. I don't have sources. I don't know anything. I just scrolled Twitter, guys. That's all I do. And I saw that on there. Then what did I see from Mike Reese? Christian Gonzalez worked away from the team during the individual drill and special teams portion on Thursday, which cornerbacks coach Justin Hamilton described as a predetermined plan with Mike Vrabel. So Jim Whalen and Frank Pirano, it was a scheduled day. So what was it, Ben Volen? Did he re-aggravate the thing, or was it a scheduled day? Source war. Also, is it conflicting regarding this Jason Tatum thing? Sham says he wants to play. There's other people trying to put out that fire. Maybe we'll work on that one tomorrow night, Skaz, because I that's too much for me right now. Finally, just wanted to pay homage to Mike Greenwell. He passed away today at the age of 62. Red Sox, he was a Red Sox Hall of Famer. I met him as a kid. My mom worked at a furniture store. And Mike was buying furniture, and he had time to sit down with myself and my brother and talk to us and sign.